Greetings, Guardians. My name is Kair.
Asterisk with the 50.
I've been watching like a hawk for signs of the new leader of the Taken. Their presence continues to build and is only becoming more prevalent as time progresses. We're starting to see all the more present signs of that presence. The Dire Taken and the Dread are still making pushes against the various forces of the Hive Gods. In the Sunless Cell, we also saw Xivu Arath's ritual being disrupted, and the Dark Blade Obak Hul being corrupted by the unknown force and being turned into a Taken before our very eyes. These developments are significant all in themselves, but there's more to it, and in the lore that we just got in Act 3, from getting all the secrets associated with the Dreadnought, I think we might actually have both a name and an origin for this new entity that is controlling the Dire Taken.
Alright.
So today, take a step with me back into the darker side of the lore. We'll be exploring the Songs of Descent once more, listening to what Eris and Sloan have to say about the Taken, and potentially identifying this greater menace. What's even more fascinating is that I think at least one of these—
How do I sleep at night? On my back, the pillow under my knees, to maintain spinal stability, and preferably 7.5 hours.
These lore entries is written from the perspective of this unknown master, this silent singing, this invisible beacon.
Need stability lying down. Maverick, must be nice. Must be nice not having back problems. Here's the thing. You know when you reach a certain threshold in your life, when you can injure yourself while sleeping. I shit you not. You fucking wake up and you feel like you just got ran over. It can happen. I know it seems like sleeping. How does it happen? That's sleeping, right? It can fucking happen. You got to have that right pillow. You got to put yourself in a locked position. You got to sleep with your arms out like you're being crucified. All right, seriously, sleep with your arms out. This is really important. Shoulders roll throughout the day. Put them bitches back. All right. Let me say this. It's become so serious in my household that I have moved out of my bedroom. I now sleep in the guest room right next to Liam's room because I can't have anybody impeding on this sleep, dude. I'm serious. I sleep in my own bed every night. And you know what? I love it. I'm never going back. Ain't no way. It's the truth, man. And listen, some of you right now, you're like, but I love my honey. I want to sleep with her every night. You need to just try sleeping by yourself. Try sleeping by yourself again. You don't know how much proper rest you're missing out on. Sleep. I'm telling you, it's the best way, man. It's the best way. This is not medical advice.
Aspires to refer to itself as the Lord of every nothing.
Not medical advice.
First things first, I'm going to really quickly show you all that moment from the Dark Blade strike in case you missed it for yourselves. This is important because it's just the latest example of the powerful incursions that this force has been making, and another example of a point at which it grabs yet another powerful servant from right under our noses.
Good. You've disrupted the ritual, but something else has stepped into the gap.
This is not my taking. Knife of my slaying. To arms.
You have no authority here.
That's Sloan saying cut the chatter. Okay. And then you fight the new thing. Abakul transform.
This moment is almost identical to what happened to the Hive Knight Zerkur of Xivu Arath's brood back in the Barrow Dyad mission. They were weakened to the point of vulnerability, swallowed up inside a wound, and then they took up a new shape, becoming something more powerful. Luckily, we didn't need to banish Obak-Hul back into the Ascendant Plane like we did with Zerkur in the Barrow Dyad mission. We were just able to kill them. Regardless, the sudden interception of Xivu's champion is disturbing. And then, one has to consider something that Sloan was saying earlier in the strike. She talked about how the Taken had started putting up walls after the Hive had gotten deeper into the asylum of the Dreadnought. Sloan identified that this wasn't the Taken throwing up defenses too late to stop the Hive getting in. She identified it as a strategy. I think this implies that the Taken were trying to hold the Hive, to trap them in. They weren't trying to stop them getting in at all. They just wanted to stop them from getting out. If that's the case, then perhaps abducting Xivu's forces was an objective of the Dread and the Taken all along. It's worth noting as well that that represents a degree of planning that the Taken would be incapable of.
Dude, okay, I just had a thought. Like, what if Xivu, there's a cutscene at some point later down the road, and Xivu literally comes face to face with this new entity. She tries fighting it, and then it just straight up just palms her fucking face and just takes her. And she's like trying to break free, and Xivu becomes Taken. Would that not be cool? I mean, I would be so down for that. And look, and at that point, she's no longer just Xivu anymore, because right now she just seems like a pissed off sister who's mad that her brother died, and now she's mad that her brother is rejecting her. You know, because Oryx is just like, I don't even know you people anymore. You know what I mean? But if this entity, a way to really solidify how powerful this entity is if it just takes an actual hive god. That right there, that's on a whole nother level. Because it was already crazy that Oryx could take like an ogre. But to take a hive god, one of the 3 hive gods?
Without a leader. Remember that they act as
Xivu wouldn't give up that easy? Oh, no. I want this to be brutal to watch. I want this to be... It needs to be something in line with this. Except this is Xivu, and that's whatever the new entity is. All right? It needs to be on this level. You need to walk away from it being scared for your life. That's what it needs to be. Oh, hell no. That right there will set the tone. What the hell is this that we're dealing with?
mindless animals if they don't have someone leading their flock. And whilst it's pretty obvious that they've had a leader for a while, this is a pretty sophisticated strategy, because it also might deny Xivu Arath the tithing that she would use to become more powerful. That might imply some intimate idea of knowledge to do with the hive gods, or at very least a respect for the adversaries that whoever is commanding the Taken is facing. All that aside, this is not the only revelation that we see regarding the Taken and the Dread. In the last few weeks, we've been able to unlock more of the Songs of Descent, a new lore book that's come with heresy. If you have the full gamut of secrets in the Dreadnought unlocked as I do, then you'll have discovered all 6 entries in this lore book. We're going to talk about some more of these, because after piecing them all together, I think we have access to the biggest hints as to what this thing is. I think we might even be able to chart its story.
Does it got
the
tentacles?
short version is that this entity has started to become empowered by the songs and prayers of the Taken. Their dark hymns called out into the Sea of Screams for an answer. And eventually, they would find one. But the Taken weren't the only ones. Listless and without leadership in the aftermath of the Witness's defeat, the Dread would converge upon the Dreadnought, sensing the same power that had drawn the Taken. When last we explored the Songs of Descent, we talked about how the Taken called out into the nothingness, and how in turn a new voice arose from the Sea of Screams. With the 4 other entries in hand, we now have a greater understanding of what happened next. To put it simply, Kair was drawn to this new power. Kair is the subjugator that killed Eris, or at least that is our very likely presumption that she is the subjugator that killed Eris. Much as the Taken did, she submitted herself to this new unknown power. Her calls would not go unanswered. We can hear her prayers to this new voice in the darkness thanks to the Resonant Song entry, where she invites the horror in. It then begins to speak through her, and uses her as its mouthpiece in the lore entry immediately after, called From the Last. I'll read both of them. Just so you know though, I'm pretty sure that in this first entry, Kair is the only one speaking. The Resonance Song entry reads as follows. A cutting song, a shaping song, a resonating cry in the thin air, from the thirst and the lonely. How wide the sea and how broad the plain, How far the journey before I find you? The light in dark, the outflung spark from the hateful mother. I cry out to you. Was I made for this? Is this the court of the taken king? Where is his sword, and where is his might? Was he cast from his throne? And does it lie empty still? Was my shape recast for this? The king is dead and speaks no more. Whose is this new voice I hear? A voice from the hollows, a silent voice, out in this deepest dark, created by the king's flock. Grant me power, I will speak for you. Remake my form, I will act for you. Let me touch the deep, I will cast down the light for you. Make me, recast me, hollow out my heart and live there with me. I am made for the cold, for the dark, for the quiet, the whisper below the roaring dark. I am made for you. I am remade in you. I was made for this.
This is the same one we listened to
Be
before.
subjugated, sisters. Open yourselves to torment, brothers. Grims and husks, weavers and attendants all, this is home for us. The will without will waits for us.
The wheel without
My
wheel.
shape was recast for this. Open your heart. Let emptiness in. Kair in this moment seems to confirm that this new commanding voice that the Taken have been following, the voice that has been silent, has a very particular origin. Whatever this thing is and whatever it might have been created from component-wise, Kair seems to confirm that it was indeed the Taken who created this new voice. The line, "A voice from the hollows, a silent voice out in the dark, created by the king's flock," implies that it was indeed the original abandoned Taken of Oryx whose actions brought about the creation of this thing. This also runs parallel to what we learned in previous lore entries.
Again, is this the 9? Is this one of the 9? Could it be one of the 9?
There was a similar kind of idea being thrown around in Song of the Knife, the second entry in the Song of Descent. This idea that the Taken had willed their own god into existence out of the need for a leader of their own. And this makes a bit more sense considering something else that you find. When you do acquire the final 2 entries of the Song of Descent lorebook, you get it when you unlock the secrets of the Hull Breach. And in that moment where you open those 2 chests, there's a conversation between Eris Morn and Deputy Commander Sloan about the Taken and what they feel. Sloan states that Taken psychology is more like a giant empty hangar. Anything you shout into it bounces around for a long time before it fades, Oryx's voice included. To this, Eris replies, "Reverberations propagating through nihility." Fitting. For those of you not in the know, nihility means nothingness or just nothing. Sloan then clarifies further, stating, "Sure, but they can't differentiate those orders from their own thoughts, if there is such a thing." Eris sheds further light on the situation by saying, "To those without an interior world, all ideation must be seen as external, even that which comes from within." This is all a bit complicated, but basically it's implying that because the Taken ideated over the fact that they needed a strong voice to lead them, and that their king was gone because they prayed for something to lead them, they willed this thing into existence. They willed it into existence because they needed something to lead them. They have no subconscious desires, but that need for a leader manifested outwards into the world as prayers and rituals. And here's the thing, they're doing this in the Ascendant Plane, the Sea of Screams. It is a place that responds to the actions of those within its bounds, and it's a place where it can be shaped by paracausal force and will. And despite the Taken not having any personal desires of their own, the force of all these beings praying, I think that might well have been enough to make something. I think that whilst the Taken might have technically created this thing, it's also partly made possible because the Sea of Screams itself is a realm within which those desires can manifest into something. And in the moments where Kair invites it in, I believe it's only on the cusp of becoming real. Not real as in something tangible within the physical world, but real enough to harness the purpose that it was created to fulfill. What it originated from other than the Taken isn't clear, because whilst it does state that this was something created by the Taken King's flock, I have to imagine that there was a being that existed before all of this. Kair talks about something that was cast out by the hateful mother. We have no idea what that could possibly mean, though there are a number of possibilities. And what's more, this thing isn't just another Taken or something that has been created by their will, not anymore. If we're to extrapolate what we learn from the next songs, it gained a will of its own. From the moment that it bonded to Kair, it became capable of commanding the dire Taken, and the dread under Kair's sway also fell into its control. In fact, it became capable of creating a new Taken entirely, something that implies that it has a remarkable degree of paracausal power and also understands how to take in the first place.
The Gardener? No. This screams new entity, new boss. Maybe... I don't know. I just feel like there's some way this is supposed to tie into the 9, considering Bive's previous video about the 9. Like, maybe a 9, one of the 9 grabbed onto this power or something like that.
This thing is now in control. It has been giving commands, and these commands can be seen in the next verse of the Song of Descent. A song from the last, where Kair declares the glorious word of this new commanding presence that she seems to imply has given its will, its desired course of action, to her so that she might speak it. One important thing to note here, Kair and the law that we're about to read refers to the first and the last and the reshaped. I believe that Kair is the reshaped. She might also be someone that is referred to as the first here, but I have no idea if that's true. And also, I don't know who the last might be.
I'll let you delete a Godro if you're right about the 9 theory.
Sometimes Eris Morn is referred to as the last, but I still don't know if that fits quite perfectly either. This could be a reference to Kair and Eris's interaction.
Kair is the Kair is the subjugator that, you know, fucked up Eris. Teox might be the hateful mother. I don't know. I mean, that would be kind of a leap if it's Teox, you know.
Upon Kair slaying Eris, but I think that is a bit of a reach. These are not explained terms, and they could be referring to other individuals or groups that as of yet I've just not been seeing. So, who knows? I feel at least relatively confident that Kair might fill the clarifying role of both the first and the reshaped, though. After all, she was the first of the subjugators created by the Witness. Either way, this is the law. Take a listen. A cry from the last, resonating from the first, spoken by the reshaped, for the unspeaking. As hand in glove, as knife in sheath, so I am to you, says the will, so you are to me. Sing orison, make entreaty, invoke your God until it walks among you. My voice is small, says the will, my voice is weak. I call across the seas, a fine and gauzy thing. Strengthen my voice as a spinner doubles thread, twists them together, makes them strong, makes them last for the weaving. Observe the rites, do as I have told. Repetition upon repetition, will and ritual together, to bring me to you. Praise the accretion disk, the material compacting, the new hungering will. I grow dense in reality. I grow rich in worship. Assert my will. Sing for me. Speak the name of the dark at the edge of your blade, to the doomed, to the slain. Open the doorway as a spouse does on their long-awaited wedding day. Lead me into my new life's home.
Let me just say this. Open the doorway as a spouse does on their long-awaited wedding day. He's saying open that door like you're about to plant my ass. Right? We about to get it.
So says the will. Now says the reshaped. In exaltation of power, we bow, we kneel, we obey. So this passage is proof that the entity is not just trying to assert its will upon the Taken and the Dread through the use of Kair, but also that it's doing so very successfully. She has become its lead commander, its high priest, its closest confidant. It appears she is a useful tool in the midst of all this strife. This perhaps explains why she is a subjugator who is overflowing with Taken power. I mean, take a look at her appearance. She looks a little bit like the Herald of Finality in this sense. She is unmistakably a Dread. The lower half of her body has Taken energy, breathing all about it. Maybe she gained these powers in service to her new Dark Master. More disturbing still are the ideas presented near the end. Open the doorway, lead me into my new life's home, and I grow dense in reality, I grow dense in worship, are all sentences that imply that the entity has taken on a will of its own and is starting to demand tribute, as a god does, from its worshipful subjects, but tribute with a very specific purpose. This is all being done in the Ascendant Plane, and as we know, this place is separate from reality within real space, unless painstaking measures are taken. And I think that is the reason why all of these measures are being enacted. They are trying to make it real. I think that despite this thing being created and empowered by the hopeless leaderlessness that the Taken have been externalizing, it is starting to actually turn into a real god, one that is not just demanding tribute but has a plan. More importantly though, there is a sentence that hints as to how it might become real. Praise the accretion disk, the material compacting, the new hungering will. I grow dense in reality, I grow rich in worship. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've been clued in on your Nine lore, that sounds awfully like the plans that one of the factions of the Nine has been looking to enact.
A black
Remember that there are two groups within the Nine, a group of 5 and a group of 4. Remember that that group of 4 within the Nine was also looking for a method to become real. However, they wanted to do so via a means that did not depend on humanity, the Guardians, and the paracausal forces of Sol. They were attempting to accumulate dark dust so that they could bring about the creation of a singularity. Praise the accretion disk is a direct reference to a part of a singularity.
Oh shit, dude.
I grow dense in reality makes it seem like this thing is becoming more and more real as time progresses, and that this plan might actually come to fruition if we're not careful. Does this mean that whatever is leading the Taken is one of the 9?
Dude, what if this season ends with us driving the Dreadnought straight into a black hole? We got the Dreadnought, we become the Navigator, we put that bitch in high drive and send it straight into a black hole.
Not necessarily. It's still possible, but so are a lot of other possibilities. Remember that this idea of creating a singularity to enter into higher and lower states of reality is not a bespoke idea. It's something that has been talked about by Savathun, something that has been planned for a long time by that group of the 9, and something that has actually been done by the Awoken of the Distributory. So no, this is not unique and it does not tie it to one singular group. Although, it has to be said, similarities to what that smaller group of the 9 was planning are concerning. This passage might be bad enough, with Kair acting as the mouthpiece for this new Lord of the Taken, but in the final Songs of Descent entries, we see something more. The penultimate entry is not one I'm going to read, but it is something you should look at for yourself if you're interested and if you find it. It is an echo of the Navigator entry. Essentially, it is the remnant memory of Oryx calling out into the Sea of Screams, calling out to this new voice, and threatening to destroy it when it discovers where it is. The last entry of them all, though, is called Waiting Song. And in this entry, it appears that the will without, the thing that Kair invited in, has found its voice and is now speaking for itself properly. This is no longer just some thing that the Taken have willed into being. It is beginning to grow and change, and now it appears to be biding its time. It has also proclaimed an objective. It will grow and become stronger. It will become greater until it can stand without assistance, exist without requirement, speak in its own voice, and walk the physical universe. And with this ambition, it has given itself a title and a name. Take a listen. A silent song, a whispered song. A quiet song in the broken sea, spoken without speaking, by the will without.
Okay.
My blade reshaped speaks for me, in inhabited dimensions on the rich fields between the stars. A sweep of its arms and atoms scatter, particles spin, entangled. I spin with them. Worshippers give praise. Idolaters perform rite. Give glory and homage to the growing God. Should the edge of my knife go blunt, should the arms of my petitioners lower, should the congregation never sing again, the will lives. The will feasts, the will spins on. Pour food in the sea, still I eat.
Poor food.
Quiet voice in the dark, still I am heard. You who want power, you who want deity, take shelter in me.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Okay, no.
As cyclone grows from seed, as currents feed the whirlpool, as planetesimals collect dust, so grows the will without will, till I stand without caveat, speaking in my own voice, walking the fields of life. Guide, will, king, Lord of every nothing. This thing, this unseen and almost silent will, the unknown master of the Taken, has named itself. It is the guiding force of the
Do you need to chill? I don't know if this lore will fit in me. Stop.
Taken that will answer their calls for leadership. It is the will that will command them and gives them purpose once more. It is the sovereign of the Taken throne, as declared by the architecture of such a space. It is the Lord of every nothing, the new god of the Taken. The fact that this entity now seems content to at least sing of its patient intent is alarming, because it has shown its own rapid evolution. In the span of 10 years or so, the Taken willed this thing into existence, but past that moment, having bonded to Kair, having begun to form the dire Taken, In the span of just weeks, it has begun to rapidly increase in power, and it appears to be the source of the aversion anchors too. The ambition of this individual is clear. The ambitions it has are to become real, and in doing so, it is using the aversion anchors probably as a means of helping to accomplish this. It is looking to turn the worlds of our system inside out. In doing so, it might help to bridge that gap between the ascendant plane and physical space.
Oh my god, it's literally been staring us in the face this whole time.
The possibility of it building a singularity is yet to be seen, but we can certainly now understand why it is doing what it is doing, and why the aversion anchors are something we should fight to stop. This thing has taken on a life of its own, and it has its own ambitions now. It intends to follow them to the point of their completion. Whatever the Taken willed it to be, it has transcended beyond their initial conception and creation. It is also declared here that even if its knife goes blunt, even if its worship stops, even if its congregation loses faith, in other words, even if we do somehow eradicate the Dread and the Taken and Kair and all those under its command, the deed is already done. It is alive. It exists. It is being supported by the Taken and the Dread, but it will be without them, should it need to do so. All this leads me back to a rather troubling conclusion. We have fallen into a particular catch-22 situation, and this entity fits into it quite nicely. I've said in previous videos talking about the unknown master of the Taken, the one that I'm now going to refer to as the Lord of Every Nothing, that Toland had it right. The architecture of these spaces, the architecture of the Taken throne itself, demands that there must always be a strongest one. It is not something that is suggested, it is something that is required.
Yeah.
One who ascends to the Taken throne must always exist. This thing, the Lord of Every Nothing, it is the result of our complacency in the face of such a structure of the universe. It is like a twisted attempt of the universe to correct that law, having been upset by our failure to take Oryx's throne. So I fear that
everyone blamed Bungie on this. They didn't want to give us the Taken subclass. Back at the Taken King, we should have become the new Taken King, and this is what happened.
But we will have to make a choice. Someone,
we just created a fucking super boss. Power vacuum.
Must rule over
now we're all gonna get.
We can ill afford for it to be any of our adversaries. Savathun and Zivua Wrath would cause untold havoc
this is
with
why
such
I quit.
power. The Lord of Every Nothing is planning to breach into our reality, and what it does from there cannot be anything good either. The Echo of the Navigator has acknowledged that it is not worthy of ascending to the throne that Oryx once held, because Oryx died at our hands. And that leaves us and Eris Morn, and returns us all to a central question. Will we Guardians ascend to become the Navigator? Or will we leave the throne open for a new will, a new guide, a new king to take Oryx's place? Regardless of what happens, the Lord of Every Nothing, the silent will beyond the Taken, is approaching. Time is running out.
The music was hot right there, man.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like and leave your own thoughts down below in the comments section. If you want more content from worlds near and far, you can go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications.
Great video, bye.
Usual, know that your viewership,
sexy,
as always,
hot,
is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Bife. Rodacia Arastra. I'll see you, Starside.
Okay, so listen. Some of you are like, I'd rather just kill the Taken King than become the Taken... Here's the thing, fellas. We have a perfect opportunity here to obtain a subclass that will allow us to take thy enemies. Imagine spawning into a GM Nightfall. You accumulate super energy, and then you can use that super energy to either take 15 ads. Or maybe you want to take that barrier champion. I've seen this in my dreams, man. Maybe you want to spin your super to take that mini boss, that subjugator. I mean, straight up solo leveling shit. You say arise, you kill him, you use your super, and you take boring. How is that boring? Hurdle, who are you? You are a long time subscriber here. Explain to me how that's boring. Hold on. You're gonna be able to run into a group of ads, kill them, and then after you get done killing them, you can consume your super to make everything arise, and now they all serve you. How is that not dope? Sounds like violations of NDA. Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything like this. No. Buddy, don't show me anything like this. I'll immediately tell. I'll immediately scream it. I will go live right there on the spot. This is the one thing. This is like, look, there's a lot of things I want in Destiny. Talked about clan-owned housing. You know, I've talked about the social features, yada, yada. But dude, I will lick someone's ass, and I mean lick it good, if I get a taken subclass, if I can go to a single target, if I can look at a tormentor. I can imagine if you could level up this class. Imagine if it's like you try to go take a tormentor, but you're not strong enough. And it's like, nah, you gotta pick them levels up, baby. Gotta get them levels up. But imagine a day comes when you could take a tormentor and you're like, you now serve me. Dude, tell me you wouldn't love this shit.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.